and Martin Navarro, aka El Bericho, who's by the way single. Don't worry, I'm going to give you his mobile number, but at the end of the presentation. Well, Anita is going to start.
I'm going to give my questions. When we ask a question, we may be trying to find out information and information that we don't already know, or we may ask a question in order to make sure that information we think we know, but we want to make sure that it is correct. For example, in 29 questions, they usually end with a polytone. To illustrate this point, we have some examples. What parts of the brain will be? How much are they? Because WA questions are usually, often, to find out information, and they often not always end with a polytone. In the case of making sure questions, they usually end with rising or full rising tone. For example, was Brian there? Is Brian there? Doesn't she work with you? Doesn't she work with you? Yes and no questions. As you know, yes and no questions are usually used to make sure they not often. They often, not always, end with rising or rising tone. However, we can say that double questions can have a rising or a full rising tone when they are making sure. For example, when's your birthday? The rising tone here shows that I'm checking the date because I have temporarily forgotten. On the other hand, yes/no questions can have a falling tone when they are finding out. For example, have you seen her recently? Because I don't know whether you have or not. In making sure questions, we can usually use a falling rising or a rising tone, but there is a little difference in meaning. Full rising tone sounds more polite than a rising tone. In other words, falling rising tone is often preferred in question asked for social reason rather than checking information. Take a look to this exercise. If you want to take the code up, are you sure you can understand? WH and yes/no questions used to offer assistance often have a falling tone, as they sound more genuine and therefore more polite than rising or rising tone. For example, can I help you? What can I do for you? Other kinds of questions can also be used to produce a reply from the hearer. We can use a rising or falling rising tone to make sure, or a falling to find out. For example, sentences which ask for assistance with expression like, would you mind, perhaps, right wonder usually have a polytone, for example. Do you mind holding this? I wonder if you could help me. Another particular case is statements when we are intending to produce a reply often have a rising tone because they are often asking for confirmation of something that we think we already know. For example, you've finished already. You haven't even started. We prepare some activities.
Yes, this is an exercise in which you will need a paper, just one sheet of paper. We will put the audio and you will identify whether it is a rising or falling tone. If it is a rising tone, it will be a making sure. You will be making sure question. If it is a falling tone, it will be if we find it out, the question will be a falling tone. Just write the arrow, rising or falling, nothing else. Okay? Tell me when you're ready. Just write number 1 to 8, and you just have to write an arrow if it is falling or rising, nothing else. Okay? But wait. Okay. Please.
43.1. Example.
Who are they playing next week?
1. Were the police involved? 2.
Are you feeling okay now?
3. Don't we turn left here? 4.
Why didn't you phone me earlier?
5. Have you discussed it with your parents yet? 6.
How'd you get the top off?
7. Did I see you in town on Saturday? 8.
What happened after that?
Ready? Okay. You will see that finding out questions are used with a falling tone and while making sure are used with a rising tone. So, the students what they want.
What is the answer for the first? It's finding out or making sure?
Making sure. Yes.
Yes. Next. Finding out.
Yes. Number 3.
Making sure.
Number 4. Finding out or making sure?
Finding out.
Number 5.
Making sure.
Don't laugh, please. Next, number 6.
Finding out.
It's making sure. Number 7.
Making sure.
Yes. And the last one.
Finding out.
Yes. Okay. Now, Martin, your turn.
Well, I will continue talking about questions. Well, questions are often used to make comments, exclamations, rather than to find out or check out information. And information is not necessarily expected. And in negative yes or no questions are commonly used to show surprise, pleasure, etc. Particularly when we consider or when we encourage others to agree with us. And these usually have a falling tone. For example, wasn't it terrible? Or if I thought terrible, eh? Wasn't it terrible? Haven't I been stupid? Didn't she sound ridiculous? Aren't they very beautiful? Well, in informal English, we can also use yes or positive yes or no questions, and particularly to express criticism, and they often have a rising tone. For example, are you crazy? Or have you gone mad? And then we have WH questions are also used to make comment, but particularly ones with modal verbs, and they usually have a falling tone. For example, how was I supposed to know? How was I supposed to know? Sorry. What's it to do with you? Well, sometimes we ask questions and we suggest possible answers ourselves before the hearer replies. So, as the purpose of these possible answers is to show or is to make sure that what we think we know is correct. And these usually have a full rising tone. And for example, where are you off to? The supermarket? How are you getting there? With Nikolai? What are you going to wear? Not at all jumper again. And also we can use questions to give instructions and suggestions. And these usually have falling tone and often include a modal verb, but not always. For example, why don't you go by train? Will you turn the light off? Well, that's it. And I have an activity for you. Well,
it is pretty much as the previous one.
yes.
You will have to focus on the question, and when you are going to kind of guess, we're going to you have to more or less guess if it is a rising or falling tone.
Yes.
If it is a making sure, will be a rising tone. If it is a finding out, will be a falling tone. So, for example, in the first one, I don't know, Martin, choose one person.
I don't know. Anyone who wants to. Any volunteer? Tanya? Can you read the first one?
I've just got a job in Alaska. Are you serious?
Was it?
I think it is.
The second one?
The second one. I don't ask you.
Okay, the next one, please, Gabriela.
Okay. I don't think any of these jackets will fit. How about this one?
The following you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, maybe just one more because we are using too much time for now.
No.
Okay. Next one, please, Emiliano.
Yes.
You didn't tell your parents what you were doing, did you? Not what are you going to do, did you? Certainly not. Do you think I'm stupid?
With a rising. Next one, please, Sandra.
great weather we are having. Isn't it fantastic?
With a phone. Well, just one more, just to make clear. For example, your name? Carlita. The number 5.
So, dictionary vary the most vary. Are you out of your mind?
Yes.
We can go to the next one. I'm going to end the presentation with repeat questions. Please. Okay, repeat questions. Does anybody know what repeat questions are?
Any questions? No.
Pretty much, yes, it can be. Well, the title is pretty much suggests you. Well, repeat questions are a series of questions that we ask or we use in order to make the other person to repeat. It can be a part of the whole what was it can be a part of the whole what was said. Why do you think we use these kind of questions?
To make sure.
Yes, it could be. Yes, well, we can use these kind of repeat questions because we didn't hear the message clearly, or because what we heard it is surprising to us. As because these questions, as Tanya said, making sure they are produced with a rising tone. For example, we have we can have these repeat questions by they can consist of WH word by itself. For example, who, what, where, when, which, or what, or how. And for example, can you read well, I will read, and Tanya, you will read the B replies.
Okay.
She used to work in the one-on-one.
Where?
Okay. In this case, we focus on the place, so we ask where, and we are making sure. The second, it can consist of also a phrase beginning with a WH word. For example, WH word, how many, what sort, what time. For example, I paid £200 for it. How much? This is a phrase. Or it can consist of a longer question beginning with a WH word. For example, it starts at midday. When does it start? We are trying to make it sure. Well, these repeat questions are produced with a rising tone, and they all begin with a WH word. Next one, please. Don't laugh. This is serious, people. Well, we can when questions we have to differentiate these making sure questions from others that are used to find out. They may be similar, but the tone is different. Because if we want to find out information, we use a falling tone rather than a rising tone. Okay? For example, if we have, I'll meet you at 8. What time? In this case, we want to, maybe we didn't hear the time correctly, so we want to be sure if we heard it. What time? But if someone says, I'll meet you at the station, what time? It's a difference here because the time was not mentioned by the other people, haven't been mentioned. Or, for example, we can say, this parcel for Mike. Who's it for? For Mike, of course. Or, but it is different from this parcel arrived. Who's it for? We don't know who it's for, so we ask that. Next, please. We can use, yes, we can use other questions. We can repeat the whole that was the whole what was said. We can repeat. For example, we said, Kat is getting married again, or Martin is getting married again. He's getting married again with a rising tone, sorry. Or we can focus on a part of what was said by using a WH word or a phrase at the end. For example, we are staying with Sarah or with Anita. We are staying with who? We focus on Anita or the other person, doesn't matter. Next one, please. We can use what or do plus what to focus on the part of the verb or the part of the sentence beginning with the verb. For example, I bought Chris a rabbit. You what? Or you did what? we are focusing on the verb, I bought. Oh, a number. Then, last but not least, we have a number of phrases that are common phrases that people use to make other people repeat. For example, one example of the I'm sorry, what did you say? Say it again, and so on. But there are two which are less polite, and people try to avoid them. They are what or you what. These two are less polite, so people try to avoid them. Well, and some of these. Wait a minute. It is possible that these common phrases can be used some of them can be used to find out new information. In this case, they will be used with a phonic tone rather than a rising. For example, if someone says, for example, this one. If someone says, Martin told me he was leaving, I may ask, what did you say? This will be with a phonic tone. Why? Because I don't know what he said. Haven't been mentioned. And that's pretty much it. That's it. Thank you. Now. Well, you can look me for the Martin numbers later. I don't know if you want.
Wait a minute.